This episode is sponsored by Realtor.com, who wants you to take advantage of your free profile on Realtor.com. By claiming and completing your free profile, adding a photo, and all of the information that puts you head and shoulders above the competition, you're on your way to receiving free leads, helping search engines find you, and staying top of mind with past clients. To learn more about claiming your free profile, go to Realtor.com/profile. Welcome to the Real View podcast, where Ohio Realtors connect you to innovators and influencers, keeping you with the real view of real estate. Whether you're a broker, agent, first-time homebuyer, industry leader, or just happen to stumble upon our podcast today, you can expect to hear tips, tools, tricks, interesting information, and so much more from the experts in Ohio's real estate game. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Real View podcast. I am your host, Allison Wiley. Joining me today is our very special guest. I'm so happy to be welcoming on Tiffany Wright, who is our 2023 Good Neighbor Award winner here at Ohio Realtors. Tiffany, welcome onto the show.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're super excited to be having you on. I love when we get to feature our OR members, hear about the amazing stuff, you guys are doing, your expertise, how you're making Ohio a better place to live and work and be a part of the community. And what better person to have on to talk about this than you, Tiffany. So we're going to get all into your story and what you do and why you do it, how you do it. But before we get into that, I would like to hear more about you. Tell me about your background, your journey in real estate. What's led you to where you are today?
I'm an Ohio native. I have a degree in sports management from EKU. And shortly after graduating, I realized there were very few jobs available, especially in that industry, and ended up in real estate. My mom was an interior decorator and my family owned RV dealerships. And, neither one of those things quite piqued my interest. So I went into real estate, did sales for 5 years, did very, very well, and then went into leadership. So I've been a productivity coach, a director, a certified mentor, trainer, you name it. I feel like I've done almost every job you could do in real estate, and I love it. I don't know what else I would do if I switched, but so I've been in the business for just over 10 years. And throughout that journey, in the last 10 years, I've had the amazing opportunity to adopt, which is why we're here today, because it sparked another passion of mine, which was giving back, especially to other foster, kinship care, and adoptive families.
Yes, great way to tee up kind of what we're going to get into here, which is why you won the Good Neighbor Award, which is through your amazing work and giving back and the work that you do for foster families and the children who are in the foster care system. So super excited to be sharing your story and for our listeners to be getting a glimpse into what you do. And you can tell, and I was there when you received the award at last year's convention, and your passion when you spoke about it. I mean, you can really just see how much it means to you. So I'm excited for that to come through here with us today. But yeah, thanks for sharing a little bit more about how you get in. I have a ton of friends who are in that sports management business, and they're the same, how do I find a job? So
yeah, I coach gymnastics still on the side, just because that fills that little bitty bucket that I have.
Is that sports itch that you have?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. That and spin class.
Oh, yeah. It makes us, feel so much better. Okay. So we'll talk about the Good Neighbor Award and a little bit about what that award is. It is one of the more prestigious awards that we have here at Ohio Realtors. And it's given to a realtor who just has exemplary community service, is someone who gives back to their community, really goes above and beyond for their community, gives back in ways, that really make a huge impact. I have to say, as a staff liaison to the communications committee, that's the committee who votes on this award. And last year was a record year of applications. I want to say we had 30 something applications of just incredible realtors who are doing the most amazing things. But Tiffany's story really stood out and really shined. And I think the committee saw that too and voted on it, and she was chosen as the winner. But then we'll get to what was for you for winning that award in that day and things like that. But I want to talk a little bit about why you won the award. So kind of walk us through your story, how you started your organization. Tell us from the beginning kind of how all of this got started, because it's a really cool story.
Yeah. Well, first, I'm just so honored to be one of the recipients of this award. I watched a number of agents over the years receive this award and the amazing work that they do. And I've had the opportunity to know so many people in our industry and train other agents. When I hear their stories and how they're giving back, realtors just have huge hearts. So I'm just so thankful to have received this award. And there are so many other agents that are also very well deserving of an award such as this. But for my background, starting the Magnolia Resource, we started in 2020 as everything was shutting down. Literally, our application went in and then they give us our approval to be a 501c3. And they're like, by the way, everything's shut down. You can't take donations. All the rules, applied, right? So that's definitely been a very interesting time. We found ways to give back to the families in our local communities. We started out in Warren County. We've started to branch into Hamilton and Butler as well, in Claremont counties. But we did like curbside pickup meals and curbside donations. We started our bloom boxes, which are care packages. They're about 12 inches, 12 by 9, 5 inches deep, something like that. So they're kind of like FabFitFun boxes that adults can get, but we give them to kids.
How fun.
Yeah. Well, and every box is different. So other organizations, other kids have even designed our boxes. They're all designed to be colored and personalized by the child that receives them. They get a handwritten note inside by someone who's preparing it, and it'll have clothes, hygiene items, school supplies, just special things for these kids that may not have gone to their foster home with anything, or maybe they're, in a situation where they don't really have things that are their own, that they get to call their own. So the box even has a place for them to put their own name on it, and this box belongs to. And so they get something that they get to take ownership of, and it can go with them from home to home. So that's a little bit of what we did during the pandemic. And as everything started to open back up, we really focused on experience type events. So photo shoots, picnics in the park, really creating that sense of community where these kids and families knew that they were loved and supported by their community. So a lot of our funding is from others in the community, especially the real estate community, that everyone has such big hearts in this industry. So lenders, title companies, realtors, you name it. They've been a big part of our success in putting on these events for the families. So our next event is actually in February, and it's a fill-a-bag event where we will have items for infants. So diapers, wipes, toys, hygiene items, and families can come and fill a bag of everything that they need. And we'll have vendors and different activities and crafts for the kids that are a little bit older that come and tag along. So we just keep, doing the Bloom Box care packages and putting on as many events as we can so these kids have really positive, impactful experiences to keep with them.
Yeah, no, that is so cool. So many great ideas. And I think it's so important, to be taking care of these foster kids in our communities. From your experience, do you feel that there is, the need is growing for foster families? And what does that look like in the community? Where does that stand? Where do foster families and foster kids kind of fit into the community? And what does that need look like kind of from your perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. So our board, small but mighty crew, and I actually get to do it with my mom, which is extra special. We have very different perspectives. So my oldest is adopted, which is what sparked the Magnolia Resource, were those experiences of going through what we did with my daughter. So my mom's bringing this grandparents of an adopted child, and I've got the parent of the adopted child and perspective. And then we've got another parent that was on the board. She had done the foster to adopt. And then we also have a legal professional on our board doing kind of that foster to adopt and does family law. And so throughout the pandemic, what we saw were a lot of situations where the social workers weren't able to get into the homes and there weren't as many check-ins. And so when things started to open up, we did see a surge, at least in our county, of kids going into these kinship care, foster care situations. And so there were just a lot more placements, but not as many foster homes. So there's one family that we serve, multiple families that we serve. They have over 9 kids in the home. And so we have really amazing people in our community that are trying to step up and help where they can. And so at the same time, you have that happening, and from the fallout from the pandemic, where a lot of nonprofits in Ohio were shutting their doors or reducing services. And here we are trying to start. So we switched gears a lot in the beginning because it was, talking to other nonprofits. What are you reducing? Where are you closing down at? What did you used to offer that's still needed? And so we found that, donations just weren't the same. And what some groups could take and not take wasn't the same anymore either. So we decided to do the care packages because that was one thing that families were saying. We really just, it's not about the money. It's we need the stuff. We need the winter coat and we need school supplies and things like that. So that was part of the decision process of what's going into the care packages. We also did surveys for kids that were aging out of foster care and what would they like to get started with. So we have Bloom packs, which are backpacks, and we fill them with things that were a result from that survey. Some of it was, just the basics, the essentials, the hygiene stuff, the toilet paper, things like that. But a lot of them said they wanted their own book to start their own personal libraries. And then a lot of them wanted crock pots, which I'm not like a crock pot user. So I'm like, I got to figure out how to get these teens these crock pots for when they're starting their lives, right? Because they're aging out of foster care. So it was things like that that came from those surveys. And we really leaned into communication with our community and other parents, surveys that we sent out, other groups, other nonprofits that were like, hey, we're seeing this need, but we can't fill it. It's not within our parameters, or we just don't have the capacity. That's where we started.
Started that in the midst of a pandemic too. I mean, just trying to figure that out and all the quarantine rules. And I mean, what was that experience like trying to do this in the middle of a pandemic?
We wore a lot of masks. Our donations, we were getting professionally clean. So we would take gently used clothing, but because you didn't know the situation, we literally would have like these giant like Rubbermaid buckets out, and we would line them with trash bags, and people would put their donations into a trash bag and then put it into our bucket. And then I would take it to the cleaning center. And then we would have to follow the protocols of, the masks and the gloves as we're going through the items. And then for a while, I didn't see the kids that were getting the boxes, and I didn't know the families because there wasn't that, face-to-face interaction. So I would basically put in the buckets, like, here's your pickup time for your things. And it would have like their last name on it or whatever. And they would pick up their boxes and take them to the car, or they would pull up and we would put them straight in the trunk and close the door. So we didn't get to see a lot of their faces. And every once in a while, there'd be someone that would open them up in the parking lot, and so I could see the kids. So that was great. That was literally all we had to go on. Like, we'd send a survey out at the end, or we'd get thank you notes, like handwritten notes from the kids. And it was like, all right, well, it's working, so let's keep doing it.
This episode of The Real View is brought to you by the Ohio Association of Community Colleges. Ohio's network of community colleges provides accessible training that accommodates the busy lifestyles of aspiring real estate professionals at half the price of a traditional university. With convenient locations in every part of the state, as well as online options, Ohio's community colleges are your smart choice for pre-licensing education. For more details or to start the journey to a real estate career, visit the education page at ohiorealtors.org and then click on the pre-license course locations.
So, I mean, it's hard enough to start a new initiative from the ground as is, but doing it with COVID and in times that were so crazy and so unusual, and I can only imagine. So props to you for getting that done in a really, really hard time.
Yeah. Well, and now, we have most of our processes and systems, all the kinks are worked out. And when we're hosting events, sometimes the kids come up and hug us, and, we get to see the kids that we're helping more in those families. So that definitely drives and keeps you going.
And so you can tell how big of a passion it is of yours to be doing this. How did it become such a big passion for you to have this and want to be doing this?
Yeah. So I mentioned that my daughter is adopted, and I've always had a passion for helping kids and working with kids. Growing up, I helped out in like the adapted education classrooms, taught dance at St. Rita's School for the Deaf for their after school program, coached gymnastics, all that stuff. And I always knew that I was open to adoption. When I was younger, I didn't know the difference between all the terms, but I knew that I would do that. And so it was not really planned. we had just kind of told friends and family members that we were open to adopting, and then somewhat family friend down the chain, someone new. And so we started down the private adoption route, lost touch with the bio mom. And then one day we got a call that there's a beautiful baby girl waiting for us. She's, very sick. And were we coming? And we're like, what are you talking about? Yeah, we didn't have home study done. We didn't have any of the process even started, nothing. So it was just like a mad scramble. But I learned during that process so much. One, I didn't realize the level of faith I had, like going through this process, because there's so much. And so faith played a huge part in all of that. And we didn't know that we were going to get to even bring her home. We just knew there was this, sick little baby that needed someone. So, we went to her. But also the system was all about who you knew. And a lot of the private sector services, like private nonprofits, so like the Magnolia Resource, were considered like a private nonprofit. And then you have like the ones that get government funding, or like Warren County Child Services. And a lot of those services don't like to communicate with each other, or it was all about who you knew. And you had to know them personally to get those. So it just seemed like all of these hurdles. And I'm in real estate. What we do is we connect people and we get deals to, we coordinate all these different people in a transaction and make it happen. Right. So for me, it's like, okay, you told me no, I'm going on to the next one. You told me no. Okay, going to the next one. So real estate definitely taught me how to be just incredibly resourceful and resilient and get us really through that process. And then reflecting on it, I was like, man, there's just something we can do here. There's got to be something we can do. There's no reason that there's not bridges between these services to really help these families and these kids. At the time when I did my speech last year, there were over 400,000 kids in the US that were getting foster government services, right? I pulled numbers a couple of weeks ago and it was over 600,000. So there just has to be a way that we in our communities can communicate better and put those resources where they should be and with the families that could really use them. So that's part of, while we do the care packages and we do these experience types of events, it's also building relationships within these other nonprofits and these other government organizations where we come together and we collaborate. It's not 50-50. It's not give and take. No, we are collaborating to make our communities better. So, and again, we're pulling in, business owners, local business owners, other real estate professionals, where it doesn't matter what brokerage you're with. Like, we are here to make our communities better. And so that's a big part of what the Magnolia Resource is.
I love what you said. And I think, realtors and those listening, you can think about it in that way too, that this is what we're good at. We're good at connecting people. We can make amazing things happen with a bunch of different people and all these, different hands in the pots. And that's what we're really good at. And I think when you think of why realtors are so community driven and community focused, it's because that is at our core who we are. What we do is connecting people. And I think that I love that you put it in that way and that you brought it up. Because I think for everyone listening, that's something you guys can take away, from this and take with you and know that huge skill that realtors can offer and how great for us to use that skill. Yes, in our jobs and yes, to help people buy and sell their homes, but to create those community connections in addition to that. I think that is a really, really great way to message that. And I love that you've seen that perspective and have been able to do it for yourself and for your community. It's really, really awesome.
Yeah, it's not just about selling our clients' homes. It's what they're filling those homes with. So a lot of times those could be households that have 9 foster kids. So we do a lot more than just the give back piece. Some of it is we're actually in the trenches where we're adopting and we're fostering and, what we're filling the homes with.
That's just so cool. What do you want people to know about foster families, foster kids? If you had to give, anyone listening who's not familiar, what do you want them to know?
These kids are amazing. They really are. They're so smart, huge hearts, and they're all so unique that I would just really hope that people have an open mind, open conversations about adoption, and foster care, kinship care, kind of put them all together in my heart. But every journey is different. Every story is different. Every adoption, foster situation, they're all different. So just have an open mind and open conversation and know that everyone's in a different place in that journey. So there's some terms that, I may have used at the very beginning that I may not necessarily use right now. Or maybe I get questions from the community sometimes while my daughter's standing there. And it's like, oh, little more sensitivity. It's okay. But yeah, just being open-minded to where everyone is on their journey. And it's a good thing that we're having conversations about foster care and about adoption and about building families on love and building homes on love. Those are good conversations to have.
There's such a huge need out there. And you kind of, ran through some of the numbers. I mean, 600,000 plus kids this is such a huge need that's out there. And what an amazing opportunity that we can have to have an impact on these kids that need it so desperately. What would you say to someone who's considering maybe becoming a foster parent or adoption, or what would you tell them from your experience and if someone's considering that?
Yeah, have conversations. Keep an open mind. It is not an easy journey. It's not an easy path to go down. And just because the paperwork is signed doesn't mean that it's finished, which is part of why we keep giving back to families even once the adoption's finalized. That signature drawing on the paper didn't just finalize the entire history or the story. So yeah, have conversations, reach out, find those resources. And people can always reach out to me at twright@themagnoliaresource.org. I don't have all the answers, but I will find somebody to help with those connections and put people in touch with who they need. Sometimes it's an attorney, sometimes it's food pantries or whoever it is. However I can help, I will. Because I think these conversations and people being open to supporting our community and these children and the youth in our communities and investing in them is important. So reach out and have conversations.
Yeah. And it sounds like you could be able to speak from your own experience, so if someone's out there, wants to know what it's like or you're considering, reach out to Tiffany, as she said. She can give her own perspective and her own experience and what she's learned from going through this process, herself, and then starting this amazing nonprofit. Really just great and incredible things you're doing, Tiffany, and hats off to you. You do a really amazing job, and you can see how passionate you are about helping these kids. So how can people kind of get involved and learn more about your nonprofit if they want to give back, if they want to check out more, learn more information, ways to support? How can we do that?
So you can go to our website at themagnoliaresource.org. My email is twright@themagnoliaresource.org. I'll even put my phone number out there, 513-477-0508. I think every realtor's phone number is just out there anyway. Call or text. And other ways to give back, we're always looking for volunteers for the events to stuff our bloom boxes. We also have shoppers. So we collect those order forms and get those registrations. And so we have multiple opportunities if you like to shop like I do. We get to go and actually pick things out for these kiddos and curate their boxes specifically for them, which is extra special. And then, like I said, our events are a great way. You can make monetary donations through our website. Again, that's the magnoliaresource.org. And then if you're interested in becoming a foster parent, that's not something our organization does, but I'm happy to get you in touch with organizations in the area that do.
And such a big need out there and so many different ways to give back. I encourage everyone, check out the Magnolia Resource. We were so impressed. I know our communications committee was so impressed and voted you into the Good Neighbor Award winner, but definitely check that out. And so what was it like for you on that day that you came to the convention? We announced you as the Good Neighbor Award winner. What was that like? Did you have any idea that this was going on? Talk about kind of your experience with that and what that was like for you.
It was a surprise. So I had received the Southern Ohio Association of Realtors Good Neighbor Award, and somebody nominated me for the Ohio one from there. It was definitely a surprise. It was a great event. And like I said earlier, for years, I've watched so many amazing realtors receive this award for the work that they do in their communities. And it's just such an honor to be part of that group.
And so deserved. You are an amazing member of such an incredible group of realtors who are giving back. And you guys are really rock stars and making a huge impact, in your communities every day. So we can't thank you enough for what you do for these families, what you do for these kids. It's a really powerful thing to see and witness. So congratulations to you, and thank you for everything that you do to make this world a better place.
Thank you so much for having me today and sharing more about the Magnolia Resource.
Yeah, definitely make sure you guys check out the Magnolia Resource. Get in touch with Tiffany. She'll be happy to share more with you about what she does and how you can give back. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll be back with you next week.
Thank you for listening to The Real View. That wraps up today's episode. You can keep up with the latest on the podcast at ohiorealtors.org/therealview and on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Have questions, comments, or suggestions? We want to hear from you. Email us at podcast@ohiorealtors.org. We'll see you next time.